All right, take 7.2. For this one, I'm going to title this one Mole Island Revisited, because we've already talked about it, but now we're going to talk about it in a little bit different way. This is Module 5, Problem 1. All right. And so it goes through. I'm not going to read it to you other than the fact that we're going to kind of look at it. And at the top of this, up in this section up here, it's really just giving you a lot of blah, blah, blah. Okay? It says things. It says interesting things. But it does, and it puts some numbers in there. In the end, I'm telling you right now, we'll get to it later and you'll see why. We don't need that number. Okay? So don't focus on that. Don't worry about that. What we need to know is that in order, we're talking about a chemical reaction. It's right here. Okay? First thing you do when you see a chemical reaction, in this case it says the balance reaction. So you could look for that. But you should just kind of look at it yourself and make sure if there's four coppers, you should kind of just check it out. Make sure it's balanced, because that's the biggest thing that happens is we give you unbalanced reactions. And then if you do what we're about to do, it'll give you the wrong answer, oftentimes. Not every time, but most times. Okay, so you should always check and make sure they're balanced. But we have a chemical reaction. We're going to talk, and it's going to ask a bunch of questions about that chemical reaction. Okay? And we'll specifically get to these questions in a minute. You need to realize there's three questions. How many? They all start that way, okay? So there's three different things it's asking for here. All right. Before we start that, let's go here. And let's revisit the island. All right, my favorite place. You guys know I like islands. They have beverages, they have beaches, they have sun. They're just amazingly awesome. And so I like to think of things in terms of islands, just because it's just what it is. Islands always have these weird shapes, whatever. Okay, they have mountain ranges, they have trees, they have sandy beaches, they have all sorts of things. All right, but in this particular island, which is a really awesome island, they have moles, and they deal with moles. Everything on the island, all of our currency is in moles. Okay? We don't talk about grams, we don't talk about atoms, we don't talk about things. All of our currency on the island is moles. We have a chemical equation, all right, from this problem. And all you need to recognize is that the whole point of this equation is to get you from moles of this thing to moles of this thing, or this thing, or this thing. It doesn't matter which one you're going to. But these numbers in the front, that tells you how many moles. That's what that's telling you. 2 moles of copper sulfide, 3 moles of O2, 2 moles of copper oxide, 2 moles of SO2. Okay? And so that's what those numbers are telling you. They're in moles. All right? And so the point of the island is to get typically from one thing to another. Now, you can stay on the same side of the arrow. We think of the arrow, we think of sides. And we should try to think of our island kind of divided in a weird sort of way, in the sense that it's balanced. Think of it like a scale. And so the left side of our scale equals the right side of our scale. So when we have a balanced chemical reaction, everything on the left, think of them like Legos if you want. We have 4 coppers over here, 2 times 2. So we have 4 copper Legos on the left. We have 4 copper Legos on the right. Okay? We have 2 sulfurs on the left. We have 2 sulfurs on the right. We have 6 O's on the left. We have 4 O. Oh my goodness, my pencil's not working for some reason. Why isn't it working? Oh my goodness, it quit on me. All right, I'm back. Sorry, had a little Apple Pencil malfunction. Anyway, about the island. The whole point of the island is just to think about, moles of this, moles of this, moles of this, moles of this, and what's balanced. Okay, so what's a balanced chemical reaction, and how is our island balanced, and how is our, So when you're use a balanced chemical equation just for one simple thing, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I just wanted to show it. For each of these things, then, we can come from mass, we can come from molecules, we can come from all sorts of things. Those are boats that we're going to take to the island. And when we talk about mass, we're going to talk about very specific things. So we have a port and a boat for this item. We have a port and a boat for for oxygen. We have a port, we'll put it here, and a boat for that item. And we have a port and a boat for this item. We can talk about mass, we could talk about atoms, we could talk about molecules, we could talk about, all sorts of different things. And then we get on the island using various techniques we've learned throughout the semester, okay? And then when we get somewhere, so say we start with mass of Cu2s, okay, then we use molecular weight, we get to the island. Now we're in moles. Now we could go to moles of something else. And then we could then use moles and then get back off the island, okay? The big point of the island, all of our boats, you can't go directly from a boat to a boat. They all go through the island. Once you're on the island, you do what you need to do on the island, then you get off. Don't get off too early, okay? You want to make sure you're on the island for a while until you're done, okay? So that is Mole Island in a nutshell.